Safe housing transgender inmates in jails and prisons. Our social change on the outside is changing at such a rapid pace that our institutions are having trouble keeping up with the mandates, new federal laws, and policies to safely and securely house special populations. Transgender inmates are one of those. But we're working hard to do it correctly and to safe house everyone in a safe manner. Now, there are federal laws and some state laws vary as to how they house transgender inmates. Now, transgender inmates, there is what is called gender dysphoria, which means a person wants to be the other gender. They may be a male and they want to be a female. They may be a female, they want to be a male. I am not a psychologist. I am a correctional person, but I have to know about transgender inmates and what is going on. And managers in corrections and correctional officers' attitude is going to have to change. It's just the way it is, folks. Because you may not like it, but placing what appears to be an attractive female into a cell with males just is not the greatest idea in the world, right? Why is that? Well, number one, I want to have a good shift when I'm on duty. I want to have as much peace and a lot less trouble, and I want to keep the shift going smoothly. You know, there's an old saying, don't look at your partner and say it sure is quiet tonight, because you've just jinxed it. Now something's going to happen, going to go off. So I want to have the smoothest shift that I can have. And one way of doing that is following the policies and procedures of our agency. And our agency has used federal rulings, such as the PREA rulings. PREA, the Prison Rape Elimination Act, sets guidelines that we must follow because we do not want sexual harassment of any kind within our jails and prisons. And that means inmates sexually harassing or abusing each other, staff members sexually harassing or abusing anyone. Okay? It happens, folks. So don't be offended when I put staff members in there as well. I've investigated some cases that weren't pretty that involve staff member on inmate. Okay, so we have to make sure that classification, we're talking about a jail now, because in prison you're there permanently. What I mean by permanently is for the rest of your prison term, whether it be 1 year, 1 day to life in prison. But jails now are very complex. There's so many things the jails have to watch out for. Number one, people that go to jail, a lot of them they haven't been sentenced yet. Not a lot of them, they haven't been sentenced yet. I will say that jails do have state prisoners come back into the jail system for new charges. Now, they have been sentenced on another charge and they're sentenced to prison. We house them here in our jail in a separate pod with state inmates. But when the general population comes in and has not been sentenced yet, within 72 hours, we're required to do a full classification on them. 72 hours sounds like a long time. It's like, oh my God, they're going to get hurt within those 72 hours because you probably have them in the wrong area. Well, a lot of those hours will be in bookend. A lot of those hours will be in a transition holding area at the jail. It's a tough job, folks. It takes time. So now we have to find out, is the new arrestee a male, a female? If they are, we check them out for mental health issues, things that are going on, drug issues, coming down from a high, whatever. And then we can place them where they need to be, right? The good old male, female. Now, if we find out they're gay, lesbian, they're transgender, whatever terminology you want to use, we have to be cautious and we have to dig deeper and find out what their situation is and place them accordingly. Now, some states say a transgender male will go in with the males, a transgender female will go in with the females, you know, using their original birth gender. It's very complex and can't be discussed here. We could do a week-long course on this. But what I'm trying to get out is the point that is in this video, that we have to pay attention to this and we have to do it, okay? We also must know that as officers, I said earlier, we have to change our attitude. We cannot mock these transgender inmates. We can't call them derogatory or demeaning names, because now you're going to rile up them and other inmates in the population. I'm going to go ahead and say this. Sometimes we have an officer who likes to poke the bear. No, we're in control of the inmates. I understand that. But why poke the bear when you don't have to? We have to change our attitude. We may not like something. It's a personal thing, but we don't bring that to work, okay? We don't bring that to work and take it out on somebody that's incarcerated, right? We have enough problems as is with having to use force on inmates that attack us and get out of hand. Don't poke the bear. Just do your job. Follow the rules. You don't have to be friends, and I don't want you to be friends. I just want you to be an officer that provides care, custody, and control, and not a fire starter. And there's other videos on officers that are fire starters. PREA also has a lot to do with discipline. They demand or want us to enforce discipline on anyone that has sexual misconduct, verbal or physical. And remember, consent in a jail or prison doesn't make any difference. If an inmate consents to have sex with another inmate, if an inmate consents to have sex with an officer, that does not stop this from being a felony. Sex in jail and prison is prohibited. That's another whole topic we could talk on for a 2-hour class of why. Diseases, fights, jealousy leads to rapes because another inmate was not allowed to have sex with that inmate. It's a complex situation. For those people that want to call correctional officers babysitters, I got news for you. We have to know a lot about state and federal laws and our agency policies and procedures. It's a very demanding, stressful job. Don't talk about it if you haven't tried it. Had to throw that in there. But it's we have to have some sort of structure set up in place. There's a lot of managers and officers that don't like PREA. Well, of course, it's a lot of stress put on us, and it's a lot of directives that we have to follow and a lot of laws we have to follow. But folks, as I said earlier, society on the outside is changing at such a rapid pace. We have to somehow keep up with it, because here's the big deal. Here's the big pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Jails and prisons are sued tremendously by transgenders because they were attacked, they were raped, they weren't housed properly. Do you know how much that costs the agency? And here's one for those of you that aren't in corrections. Do you know how much that costs you, the taxpayer? So you want us, you taxpayers, you want us to house our special populations correctly. You want us to house our transgenders correctly. You want us to keep the special populations like transgenders and mental health populations, violent populations. You want us to keep them housed in the proper areas to protect everyone behind the walls. I just wanted to throw this out there about special populations. I don't think I did one a long time ago, but I wanted to update it, and I want people just to take this few minutes to think about it. Whether even if you're not in corrections, think about what we go through and the time consumption of dealing with this and the dangers of dealing with this and being short-staffed on top of everything I just talked about. But most of all, we want to keep everybody safe when they enter the jail or the prison. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, I can't do a week's course in a few minutes, but I can update you and hit the high points. Questions, put them in the comments that you know that you want to add in there on this issue. Please add it in also. Thank you very much. Gary York, True Prison Stories. Please subscribe.